Hi, this is Mike, WB4HUC, and about a year ago I did a video that shows how you can connect other hardware and software to the N4PY software in case you want to pass information about the radio to other software packages. So that video was kind of long and it rambled a bit. It didn't really get to the point a lot, so I thought I would just make this one. Should be shorter. And it'll be more direct, more to the point, and more of a how-to to get this done. So with that, I'll just go ahead and get started. First thing you want to do is define one or more virtual serial ports in your computer. And as you can see here, I've defined 5 pair of serial ports. And then the next thing you want to do is go into the pegasus.ini file, which is the initialization file for the N4PY software. And by the way, I'm using N4PY Pegasus Plus, and the radio that I have is a Ten-Tec Omni 7, so that's my setup here. But once you edit this file, go down and look for this line that says THP COM port. So I have an SDR Play RSP1 receiver that I use as the pan adapter for my Omni 7. So I assign that to this line that's called THP COM port. Now if you've never done this before and you edit your INI file, it may say THP COM port equal none. Well, what you want to do then is just change that to one of the ports that are in one of these pair of ports. And then if you want to define multiple COM ports so that you can talk to multiple software packages, then you need to define THP 2, 3, 4, and 5, so you can have up to a total of 5 virtual COM ports defined. You don't have to use all 5. If you only need one extra, just define one, but you can have up to 5. And as you can see, I'm just using 50 through 53 here for number 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if these lines are not in there, just add them. And then when you do that, save the file and then exit out of the editor. Now you can bring up the N4PY software. So to complete this setup, you want to go into the settings menu and you want to scroll down to the section that says user 5 transverter step IR. First thing you want to do is assign the same COM port here. You want to select the COM port here that's defined as THP COM port in your INI file, not 2 through 5, but the first one, the one that just says THP COM port. Well, for me that's COM54, so select that here. Then the next thing you want to do is click some checkboxes. So click this checkbox that says SDR IQ HD SDR pan adapter. Click this checkbox that says Tokyo HP COM port, and then if you have additional COM ports defined in the INI file, click this use THP COM port for external logging program. Once you do these things, then the N4PY software is all set up to use those COM ports. And you can also see up here, if I go up here and click refresh, you can see that the executable for the N4PY software is assigned to those ports that are defined in the INI file. So you can verify that those ports are being used by this software. So for my pan adapter, I use SDR Uno. So if I start SDR Uno, then you can see the first thing that happened was, since I've already got it connected, I've already configured it. So the first thing that happened was that the radio was set to the frequency that's displayed here, which is the local oscillator frequency. So first thing I want to do is put this back somewhere in the 20 meter band. You can see the radio changed. And you can click play and spread this out a little bit. And then as you point and click here, you can As you point and click here, you can see the frequency change in the radio. If I use the tuning knob, I use the Tentec remote tuning encoder to tune the radio. So if I turn that knob, you can see that the frequency changes both in the N4PY software and up in the RX control window of SDR Uno. And also, if I change modes in the N4PY software, you can see that it changes modes up here. So now we know we have connectivity between these two pieces of software. But to do that, let's say you don't have it configured, you can click Settings in the RX control window, go to CAT, select the other half, the other COM port in this for me, COM54, COM14. Since this is the COM port I've defined as THP COM port in the Pegasus.ini file. So select the other half of that pair here, click Enable and Connect, and then you should be connected. So if you have other software that you want to use, then you can start that other software. So for instance, FLDigi that I use for digital mode operation. So you can see that when it started, it tuned itself, or you can see the frequency that the radio is tuned to here in the display. So this one's already also been configured. So for this one, you go into Configure, Rig Control. Oh, let's go back up here. So if I click Refresh again, now you can see that SDR Uno is using the port that I specified for it to use, and FLDigi, and we'll see that in a minute, FLDigi is using the port COM10 that I've specified for it to use. So we can see that if we go to, now I use RigCat. I don't use HamLib or any of these other. I use RigCat. So you can see that use RigCat is enabled. And one thing should be mentioned here is that the N4PY software uses the Kenwood radio command set to communicate with anything that's connected through these serial ports. That means that in your application software you have to select a Kenwood radio, even though ultimately you're connected to a Tentec radio. But really, this side is connected to this software, not physically to the radio. And this software is speaking Kenwood language. So for FLDigi, you have to go, if you use RigCat, you have to go and find these XML files for whatever radio you want to use. And then you click Open and you select the one you want to use. And then you can click Use RigCat and then click Initialize, and you're ready to go. The only gotcha that I've seen here is that you may not be able to choose the same radio for all software packages. So for instance, if I go to Open and I select TS950 and then I say Initialize, you can see we lost the communication here. So you may have to, it may be a bit of a guessing game as to which radio you should use. But if I go back to TS590 and then again make sure this is checked and then initialize, and now we're communicating again. And it's the same thing. You can see that if I point and click in the pen adapter display, these will change. If I tune the radio with the knob, it'll change. So it works. And again, we showed you this. You can see that FLDigi is using COM port number 10. So I don't know why you would, but let's say you fired up another digital program, and I'll fire up WSJT. Now the polling rate in this software is pretty slow. I think it's like 1 second. So it's going to take it a bit, but again, it's the same thing. It got the frequency from N4PY, and if I point and click in the pan adapter display, you can see this one's already changed, but this one has got to play catch up because of the slow polling rate, but it does catch up. So if we go into File, Settings, Radio, Now here you can see I did choose the TS950 radio, where over here in FLDigi I had to choose the 590. And then here you specify the serial port. But again, I had to scroll down through the list of radios to find one that would work. So for instance, if I do choose 590 up here, keep the same COM port and do test, it'll take it a second, but you'll get a failure. I don't know why it says HamLib error. I'm not using HamLib, but in any case, you get a failure. So let's go back and to our original radio, say test, and now we're good. And if we go to VSP Manager, refresh one more time, we can see that WSJT is assigned to COM11, which is what we told it over here. So that's about the only gotcha, is if you have a list of Kenwood radios, you may have to scroll up and down through that list in order to find one that works. And I think that's just differences in the application software, not anything in N4PY. So I think that's it. It's not hard to set up. And as I said, the only gotcha that I could find is in your application software that you use, that you want to connect to N4PY. You may have to scroll up and down through the selection of Kenwood radios to find one that works. But once you do, it's pretty transparent. And for me, it works fine. So that's it. That's all I wanted to show in this particular video. So I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.